Kola, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Well, activities to commemorate this year's World Food Day continue. Just reflecting on some of the comments made by the DG of the FAO in his remarks to kick off activities this week. He did say that there is no food security without water security. As you know, this year there is a focus on water, with the theme being water is life, water is food, spreading awareness on water scarcity and the link between food and water. How should we be, how should we be reflecting that for us here in Nigeria, reflecting on this year's theme and how we are moving towards ensuring that we boost water access?
So I think the comments really come on the back of really what folks are seeing with the dramatic increase in variability of weather patterns due to climate change. So what this is really exposing is the fact that economies like Nigeria that have predominantly existed leveraging rainfall agriculture, there is significant risk. And I think it really highlights the importance of investing in adequate irrigation infrastructure, as well as ensuring access to potable water for its population.
Well, he also did mention, still going back to the comments of the DG, he also did mention that, as you know, population growth, and as you also just highlighted, impacting water resources, urbanization, climate crisis, etc. But he says that the world can produce more and better with less. However, the clock is ticking, and he says there are several areas that nations can address: collaboration, investment, especially partnering with the private sector in terms of bringing about innovative solutions to boosting water supply. What are your thoughts?
Well, I do think the private sector can play a key role. However, I think if you look at most economies, water infrastructure investments have typically been led by government, because I think the return on investment as well as the payoff, these tend to be very, very large, very long-term investments, and oftentimes are led by government. I think if you look at, for example, if you look at everybody loves McDonald's potatoes, they all come from Idaho and are pretty much 100% grown through in the middle of a desert under irrigation. And that investment was made by the U.S. government, decades and decades and decades ago.
Well, as someone who works on the ground with farmers in Nigeria, talk to us about what you see in terms of how irrigation issues, how farmers cope, those who will have challenges with water, or what is the skill? I want to imagine that obviously they are receiving support from the Ministry of Agriculture, the federal government, etc. But what do you see, and in what areas can these farmers receive support going now and going forward?
Well, I think fundamentally, the cheapest form of irrigation is what's called gravity-fed irrigation. So it's basically, however, that form of irrigation requires massive infrastructure investments, which typically governments make. And if you look across Nigeria, there's multiple estimates on it, but most of the estimates show about maybe 3% of our land is irrigated. I would probably argue that it's significantly less than that. At the end of the day, if you look at our desire as a country, with particularly crops like rice, if we do not massively scale up our investment, not just in irrigation, but also ensuring that we're able to provide land leveling support and things like that, it's going to be very difficult for us to attain those goals.
Right. Now, also this year, there's also an emphasis on how crucial sustainable agriculture and food production are in addressing the world's food challenges. We have seen some innovation in food production, but also speaking to the point of working on the ground in Nigeria with farmers in the northern part of the country. To what extent is this being practiced? Is this top of mind, would you say, for policymakers, how we produce food, the food that we eat, and how sustainable we are in these practices?
Well, I think the truth of the matter is the Nigerian farmer is probably the most organic farmer in the world today, but it's not by choice. It's fundamentally because they can't afford access to a lot of these a lot of these products, and it really hinders their ability to be profitable and productive. I do think that it's very important that as you provide access to financing to farmers so they can buy these yield enhancing products, that it's done in a very responsible way that ensures, for example, when we finance farmers, we ensure that we monitor how they're doing their crop rotation to ensure that they're not overusing the soil and running the risk of degrading the soil over time. So there are tried and true and tried and tested ways to ensure that you're able to ensure farmers are being as sustainable as possible. I think we are blessed in Nigeria with an exceptionally large cattle population, which provides us very large access to organic manure, which definitely will help build that soil structure over time.
Well, we have just 1 minute left. As far as Nigeria's food security or addressing food insecurity goes, what is that one thing that we're doing right at the moment?
So the one thing that we are doing right, I think, if you look at over the last decade, I think there has been a consistent appreciation for the investment opportunity in agriculture. So I think that's a significant shift from probably, if you look at the previous 20, 30 years. So that's the first step. I think now turning that desire to invest in the agriculture space into action and unlocking capital to the sector, I think is really the key next step.
Thank you so much, Kola, for talking to us today. We appreciate your time and insight on this topic. Kola Masha, CEO, Babban, Gona.